Hey everyone, it's your favorite host, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we are gonna be talking legal. But don't tune out, don't check out. We are gonna be talking about something to help us in the legal realm. And this brother and his team and his co-founder, he's a CEO of a new app that is changing the absolute game and is going to help us do better when dealing with law enforcement. You won't want to miss 1 second of what he's sharing today on Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Stay tuned, stay with us. Here we go. Hey everyone, I have the CEO and co-founder of Attorney Shield Inc. This man, Mr. David Walton, has been bringing the noise and changing lives and working in numerous fields, which two of my favorites is IT services and financial services. He brings over 25 years in these various industries, including government. His diverse background includes roles at JP Morgan, Chase, LexisNexis, FIS, and teaching at Columbia College. This is a busy brother. And want to thank him for his service. He's a former Army officer. He's served his country and continues to serve long after. So this man is doing it, an incredible guest. And I just want to welcome him on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show today. And we're going to talk about how he and his team have created this app that is going to help us do better when dealing with law enforcement. So let's dive in. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible Mr. David Walton.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you
Hey.
for joining us, sir.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thanks for having me here. This is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Thank you for making time for us. It is a true honor, sir. Your resume is extensive, and I love it. I love to see it, and I love that you are a man of many talents. You've touched numerous industries, IT, business, JP Morgan, all of it. And now we're full circle. You're giving back. I see this as what you're doing is giving back. But I want to ask this first question. What got it started? Because you have an extensive career in numerous specialties. Why create this software, this app, when you have an incredible mind? You could do anything. Why this? Can I ask that?
Yes, you can certainly ask that, and it's actually a really good question. I think that most people are aware. I don't care who you are, that there's a policing problem in the United States, and the individuals who appear to bear the brunt of that are younger individuals, and those with black and brown skin. And so every time you see a situation on TV, you ask yourself, what could have been done? What could have prevented this tragedy? Is there a better way? And so that doesn't hit home until you see it in real time, in real life. And so my business partner and I also own another company called True Intel, and it's a consulting business mostly for sales enablement and sales practice. But we were on our way to a conference at the airport. We're heading up to New York, and there's a gentleman in the terminal, and he's upset. And he gets a telephone call. You can tell he's upset. He's sitting across from us. Tell he's upset. Gets another call. Starts crying. And we gathered over time of hearing all the stuff that was said, that his father was sick and had just passed. And when he went to board the flight, the gate agent was like, "No, you can't get on the plane because you're too upset," right? And it's like, I've never heard of such a thing, but yeah, right. And so he proceeded to insist that he needed to be there for his mother and his sister, right, his surviving family, and he needed to get there. And they were like, "You're not getting on this plane." He's like, "I bought a ticket." And so they call airport security on him. Airport security rolls up. Says, "Sir, you're coming with us?" He goes, "No, I'm getting on that plane." And without hesitation, they just whipped out a taser, tased this guy, dropped him on his face, busted his nose, zip tied him, put him in a wheelchair, and carted him out of there. And I thought, that guy's life is irrevocably changed right? That he's going to have an arrest record, and all he was trying to do is get to his family. And is there a better way? Where was the sympathy? Where was the empathy for this guy's situation? And it bugged me and Andy the entire time up on this trip. And so when we finished the conference that we were at, we went and found sort of a local pub next to just a few blocks away from Javits Center, and we mapped this thing out. And we're like, well, if we don't do it, nobody else is gonna, and we may be able to make a little money in the process as we build a business that's about really helping people versus a business that exploits and takes advantage of people. And that's how this thing got started, Marcus.
You said something, and Gentleman Style Podcast, the mascot is not okay with that. That's not cool that airline did him like that. That's a huge no. And you are speaking to something that's unique, right? When you're in the system, because I've read books on this, like it's crucial for our young men at all possible, and young women, anybody, but it's crucial to avoid getting in the legal system as much as possible.
That's right.
And
That's right.
like you said something, you said that now he's in the system, now he has a record simply because he wanted to be with his family during their deepest, darkest, probably moment of time of need, and they were denied that due to a lack of empathy and understanding and concern and customer service. I mean,
All of that. Yes,
all.
absolutely.
So you are speaking to that, and that's the heart, and that's I was hoping you'd say that, and you did, and I love it because
We
that's
can
the
talk
heart of.
about that because it's a big deal. It really is a big deal.
Yeah, because that was one incident, but this is happening
All over the
globally,
place, right?
and
And
yeah,
we should probably get a sense of the scale of that, because I'm a guy. I work for LexisNexis, so I'm a guy of the numbers. So I'm all about the numbers, right? You can feel however you want, but the numbers are the numbers. They have no feeling. They're just facts, right? And so, I can feel that policing's fine, but when you look at the numbers, it ain't right. And so, what most people don't know is that, 1/3 of adults in the United States have been arrested. They have an arrest record, right? And you stop and think about that. And now a lot of people also don't know that the United States ranks fourth in the world in terms of incarcerations, right? We love to incarcerate our people for whatever reason, right? We've got, over 300,000 federal laws on the books, and each state has an average of 46,000 laws or statutes, as we call them, right? And it's hard to know even when you're breaking the law, let alone most people get arrested for things that really aren't even harmful. Normal behavior these days is criminalized, right? If my kid, wants to open up a lemonade stand right on the street there, if she doesn't have a permit, she's breaking the law.
right,
What's up with that, right? If
right,
I want to go fishing without a license because I want to feed my family, I'm breaking the law. When did it become illegal to fish, right?
right.
And so at the end of the day, most people don't realize that we are one, a country of way too many laws, criminal codes, if you will, way too many of them. And then we're also a country where the law enforcement agencies are willing participants in sort of a commercialized prison system, right? And I know I'm bouncing across a number of points, but this problem is a highly complex problem. But at the end of the day, police departments are rated based on the number of arrests or DUIs they make. They're not rated on convictions, right? And so officers have a broad range of discretion when dealing with people. And if they believe you're intoxicated, even though you're blowing zero, they can still arrest you. And that happens. That's happening here in my county right now, right? I've already met several people who blew. There's a class action lawsuit, by the way, against Sheriff Harwick here. Uh, because they're arresting people who blow below the limit, but they don't care, right? This is all about the numbers. This isn't about sort of convictions on the back end. They don't care what happens to you on the back end. They only care about the numbers that make them look good. And so I'm going to sort of stop there and let you sort of unpack that a little bit. But this problem is huge. It's widespread. And we won't get into those situations where the smaller towns in flyover states in America have police departments that rule their communities and burdensomely prey on them because they don't have tax collection. They have fines and fees and court fines, right? So I'll stop there too.
No, no, no.
Uh,
He's the grand poobah, right? This is grand poobah. This is high level knowledge and insight and wisdom, which is why I think, Mr. Walton, you and your partner are the men that needed to do this. Like you were put strategically throughout the course of your experience in your life to do this, right? There's very few people that in their lifetime discover the day, two things: the day you were born and why. And
why?
you are doing your why,
Yeah, you're
right?
speaking it, brother. You are.
That's
So
huge. That's
you
huge. And
are. And you know what? An
yeah,
attorney would have never done this. I'm not an attorney, right? But an attorney would have never done this for a number of reasons. This is a highly complex and regulatory, burdensome business, right? And so you almost have to proceed not knowing how tough it is,
right,
right?
right.
And an attorney would have known that and been like, "Nah, I'm gonna just focus on my practice and let the system stay the way the system is because by and large it benefits me." But we have to do something different. And I believe we are doing something different. And I don't think that's the end of doing something different. I think there's more different beyond that, right? We hope and intend on sort of disrupting the way policing works, but also the way the legal system works because it's highly inaccessible and unaffordable.
That's true. And you said it earlier. There's a high level of incarceration, but that high level of incarceration is due to the fact that there's a high level of lack of understanding. We don't know our rights. We don't know what we're entitled to. We don't know how to defend ourselves. We don't know how to protect ourselves and what alienable rights, because we're over statute. We're over statute.
We way are. We are.
So
And if you think about it, you hear that sort of school to prison pipeline trope, right? And part of it's true because, young people are some of the hardest to watch targets, right? And so just here in Florida, in 2024, I believe, no, 2023, or is it 2022? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but in that one particular year, and I think it was 2022, there were over 300 elementary school arrests here in the state, mostly children with, developmental issues, autism and other, ADHD, right? In the past, when I was a kid, the administrators dealt with that, through law enforcement means. But what I know is if you put a police officer in a school, people are going to start get arrested. They're going to start getting arrested.
yep.
If the police weren't there, they wouldn't be arresting kids. But you put a police anywhere, people are going to start getting arrested for whatever. That's just the way it works. And so now we're arresting our kids.
Yeah. Because just like you said, there's dollar amounts, there's numbers behind all of this, right? So they put the police there to say, hey, we're going to help this community, we're going to lower the crime rate. But now you put quotas on these police officers to justify the cost of them being there, for the local government. So the government is saying, okay, well, we put you here, now go to work, and you need to have these many tickets, these many arrests. We want to see the systems, prisons, because prison and jails is a business and it
It's
makes
business.
money.
Hmm.
So I need your police force to fill these prisons. So you better be writing tickets. You better be incarcerating people. I need to make my money back. And
Right.
it's all synced in there.
It's the deal is that there's going to be somebody that says, oh, you guys are like conspiracy talking, and I don't think it's a conspiracy. I just think it's a culture, right? It's where our values are as a nation, right? If our values were protecting our kids, we wouldn't be arresting our kids. If our values were protecting families and keeping them together, we wouldn't be arresting young black males for stupid stuff, right? And breaking up and ruining their families in the process. This is a values problem. This isn't like a conspiracy thing, but you're absolutely on target. The police, I call them unwittingly helping sort of the corporate interest who have invested in prisons, right? Um, and it's unfortunate, right? And but there's just too many things that are wrong that sort of gets people sort of tumbled into that legal space. And so once you end up with a criminal record, your likelihood of being arrested again, goes up considerably. that second arrest, if you actually spend time in jail, that probability in your future goes up even more. What starts going down is your ability to make decent money, right? And
Facts.
that's the unfortunate side of this, is that as soon as you have a an arrest record, right, and especially a criminal conviction, that begins to affect your ability to join the military. That begins to affect your ability to go work for the bank or work for any type of financial institution, this, that, and the other. And if you're barred from those fairly reasonably or high paying jobs, what do you got left? Right. And a highly intelligent person who makes one mistake can ruin their financial, upside considerably. And frankly, that's not fair, because most of those mistakes are made when people are young and they don't really think things through. And should you be penalized for the rest of your life for that? Well, in America, that's our values, and you're going to be.
Facts. Facts. Huge. I told y'all. I told y'all. Huh. I work hard, y'all. I work hard to get you guys quality 4K high level thinking guests like Mr. Walton on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. He is speaking absolute tracks. And what I appreciate, what you and your co-founder, your partner did, is you all didn't say, "Hey, let's attack Capitol Hill. Let's elect political leaders." You all started at knowledge. You all said, "I need to arm people with the knowledge," right? Because and it's true, right? Because everybody's like, we need vote for this person, let's vote for that person. No,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
need to arm people with knowledge. You
yeah.
need to have at the palm of your hand legal advice right here, right now, so you know what to do.
Right.
So you guys are hitting the nail on the head and,
We
and, and
are.
solving the problem.
We are, and there's a reason for that. So Andy's background is, public and government policy. He has a background in that, and so we know how the government and politics works, and what really motivates politicians at the end of the day. It's an area that we used to actually sell into when I worked for Lexus and he worked at Navient. And so, with that in mind, we understand sort of how that whole mess of a world works, and good luck, right? Because
Yeah.
from a political perspective, unless you're a special interest group with a lot of money, or you're a corporation with a lot of money, you're not going to get much attention. And petitions don't work anymore. That's sort of grandpa's, technique, but those things don't hardly work anymore. And so, with that in mind, going after politicians is a mistake, because there's
Yeah.
this whole perception issue that if you go after the problem, which are police in many respects, or the way policing works, it's not necessarily the police. It's just the way it's their policies, it's their tactics, it's all of that stuff. And that's not the fault of the average police officer. That's the fault of the leadership. It's the fault of the system itself. And if they go after the system and try and reform the system, they look like they're going after police, and that's not a politically expedient thing to do. And you're probably not going to get reelected, because your opponent's going to call you out on that, and you're going to have to backpedal and defend. You know how those guys work,
Yep.
right? So, at the end of the day, that's the wrong place to go. And what I always believe is your government's not going to come save you. That's not what yeah, they say that they're here to help.
Facts.
Well, they've never helped me, right?
Facts.
So, the deal is, if you got a problem, you got to be a self-solver, right? Now, here's the deal: there's solutions out there that guys like me are putting together. And so, if you need a ride from point A to point B, guess what? There's an Uber now. You don't have to get into some slimy cab, right? And so today, you didn't have the ability to access on demand a barred and licensed attorney to help you through sort of a police stop or a domestic situation where they showed up. Well, now you do. And so there's kind of no excuse, right? Like, if you go to jail now, you're going to jail because you were maybe negligent in preparing yourself, and that negligence takes on two things, right? One, either get to know your rights so that you don't become the state's witness against your own criminal activity or alleged criminal activity, right? And that means shutting your mouth, right? A lot
Yep.
of people don't know. You need to just shut your mouth, and you don't have to talk to an officer, and they'll coerce you by, oh, this is gonna, if you just give me if you just talk to me, this thing will be done in 5 minutes, right? Well, that's a lie. They're looking for you to incriminate yourself. How fast were you going? Where are you going to? As soon as you start answering how fast you think you were going, and if even if you say I don't know, then that gives him license to basically tell the court how fast you were going, and you're on record for not knowing, and so he has better credibility than you, and that ticket is sticking, and you're paying those fines, right? So either educate yourself on how to engage or bring in an expert to help you engage, because that's your best chance for the most favorable outcome. Anything less than that, you're putting your frankly your life at risk. And when I say life, I don't always mean like you're going to die. Some of them do, we know this. Tyree Nichols, Michael Brown, a number of these guys have died, George Floyd, right? But your life also means your livelihood, right? Are you going to make
Yep.
it home that night, or are you going to be arrested because you made a fatal flaw, right? And once you're arrested, how does that impact you and your family for the rest of your life? These are things you got to think about, because if you just go all in, go around happenstance, right? You may get lucky for the rest of your life, but you may not.
Right.
So, yeah,
That's, this is good. Ignorance. You cannot. That's what he's talking about, y'all. You can The ignorance card does not work. Ignorance does not work. Too many times. Well, I don't know, officer. I don't know. I don't know how fast I was going. I didn't know I couldn't kill that dog. It was, all these things are ignorance based. And
right.
so we have to become knowledgeable. Fix yourselves. He said it earlier. Fix yourselves. You can't control law enforcement. You can't control Congress. You can't control your elected officials. You can control you by arming yourself with knowledge, data, information, and your inalienable rights. And it's as
Absolutely.
simple as that. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. But
Absolutely.
that's the hard part, right? People don't want to do the work themselves.
It is. It's an effort, and it's a proactive behavior. And proactive behavior is kind of tough because I won't get into the psychology of it all, but I put stuff off too. I get it, right? And it's a thing, right? But at the end of the day, you got to also prioritize what's important, and you've got to be looking out for yourself and the people that you care about. And that means you better stand up and you better figure it out. And because if you don't, somebody's going to either take advantage of you, or it will be figured out on your behalf. And so, at the end of the day, if there are tools that are going to help you and your family, or if there's some type of education you can acquire that are going to help you and your family sort of either ward off a potential threat or otherwise, like people, Second Amendment people, I love these guys because they have guns in their homes because effectively the primary reason why a person buys a weapon, a gun, is for self-defense, right? They want to protect themselves and their family, and that's a proactive move, and it's commendable, and it's absolutely lawful. But look at the gentleman out of the Panhandle of Florida who owned a gun for that very same reason. Cop knocks on his door. He opens it with the gun down by his side, and he gets blasted in the chest twice and dies. Right. And so to me, that cop's being indicted right now. He's already been arrested, and he'll have to, sort of stand trial for his behavior and his mistake. Right. But at the end of the day, at least that gentleman was preparing in a way that unfortunately resulted in his death, but that death was not his fault. So the deal is if you whip out attorney shield and you're trying to protect your rights, and a police officer doesn't like that, and it feels like you're questioning their authority, and they somehow escalate the situation unnecessarily, that's not your fault. But guess what? We'll have video of that, and there may be remedies on the back end of that if they don't straight out kill you. And so, at the end of the day, you have to put mechanisms in place that are going to protect you and result in the best outcome for you and your families. And you can't be afraid of the downsides of those, because there's a lot of people who don't want to buy a weapon because they're afraid that they're going to be judged by police. Well, we're a Second Amendment nation. If the police see me with a gun slung over my shoulder, they should just keep walking by. It should be nobody's business, right? But it is, because at the end of the day, police view everybody as a suspect, right? And so Google this all day long, but think about how police are trained in the academy. From the beginning, they're trained that any individual they encounter is a lethal force threat in the making. Right? Some rough language around that, but basically a lethal force and potentially hazardous situation in the making. And so they approach everybody with that content. Everybody's a suspect. When police come and ask you a question, it's not that they're looking for directions or they do want to be your buddy. They're investigating you if they're at, or they're investigating somebody else. And if you answer that wrong, you may be pulled into the investigation too. I'm not saying don't speak to police officers. I'm just saying don't do it unless your attorney says it's okay to do so, and understand what it is you should say and shouldn't say. Because you may think you're smart, but guess what? The police have decades of techniques of how to entrap people, or how to sort of get them to admit guilt, right? And you just came off the block today, right? And so at the end of the day, these guys know what they're doing. And you have what all we're trying to do at Attorney Shield is rebalance the power dynamic between the public and the police, because the police have militarized equipment, they have all the weapons, they have the non-lethal weapons, they have the car with the big engine. And you're not going to, if you're breaking the law, you should go to jail, right? But you shouldn't be helping yourself go to jail because you didn't shut your mouth, right? The deal is everybody here in America is supposedly or ostensibly innocent until proven guilty. Well, don't accelerate that for yourself. Get an attorney, know what to say, be prepared. In the story.
I like it. When I saw the Attorney Shield logo and the brand and what you are on mission to do, it took me back to a little bit past your story that you just shared about the COVID-19 pandemic and the laws and stipulations for landlords around that, and how many landlords had no idea, including myself, had no idea that like the government can tell me to keep these people in my home despite not paying their rent, despite not keeping my place up to par, and I still have to maintain the home, and I still have to maintain the yard, and I can't put them out, and I can't displace these people because of the COVID-19 time. I think that was a shocker for the whole world. And it shows again, even at that level where you're a real estate investor, you think you know it all, and then here comes the government saying, nope, you don't really, you can't, we won't allow you to do that, when history has shown us otherwise. And I remember the situation in New York with the young lady. She had squatters.
That's squatters,
Just
right?
something basic as that. We don't know our squatter laws,
We don't even know our squatter laws,
right?
right?
And these are professional squatters who know the law, know what they're entitled to per their state, and can
Yeah,
stay for months past
yeah.
when they should have been gone. And that's what Attorney Shield, when I saw it, that instantly, like, oh, shield protection. I need protection. I need to arm myself with protection against professionals. These are professionals.
Yeah, the police are professionals.
Yeah,
Now, that doesn't mean they always behave professionally, right?
right.
But they're trained professionally. Now, in certain cases, some of the minimum training for police is less than that of a cosmetologist, just to be honest, right?
Right.
Uh, but if you've probably got sergeant stripes on you on your arm, you've probably been in that department for at least 5 years, and you have gone through training. And so, at the end of the day, you have every opportunity to be a professional police officer. But police officers are human as well. They get their feelings hurt, they get up in their emotions just like anybody. And we have a thing that we call sort of the downside of self advocacy, meaning if you're self advocating for yourself, and this is why Attorney Shield also becomes really important. If you're self advocating, well, officer, I don't want to answer your questions, or no, you're not going to search my car. That, in many respects, is viewed. It's not a challenge of their authority. It's viewed as a challenge of their authority, and they will escalate on you in the heartbeat, and you become the center of their ire. And so, with that in mind, put an attorney in between you and that officer. The legal first responders who work for Attorney Shield or work with Attorney Shield uh, will speak to that officer and talk to that officer on your behalf, right? And if they're the one saying you're not going to search my client's home, or you're not going to search their car, that that sort of rebuffment is coming from the attorney. It's not coming from you, but they are your representation. And so we've got, a few videos that have made their way out onto social media where we sort of show that, where the attorney's saying you can't search my client's house. You'd be breaking the law. And, the police officers back down, but they didn't get mad at the individual whose house they wanted to search, and they couldn't reach through the phone and choke the attorney. So at the end of the day, it creates sort of this buffer, right? But it creates a professional buffer too, because also what we notice, Marcus, is that the police officers that engage in our videos, we've had some behave annoyed at the fact that the person has an attorney on the phone, but never
Really?
unprofessional. I'm not kidding you. And I'll just describe a quick story. One of the first videos that we were able to, one of the first service requests we had was a young gentleman who was getting arrested on Vanderbilt campus. So campus police was arresting him for criminal trespass, right? He was a former student. I don't know what happened before that, but he was being arrested. So he dialed in at the point of his arrest, and this police officer, a white old dude, and this kid's a black kid with an afro, right? The police officer was so patient in allowing this guy to speak to the attorney, at one point saying, "Ma'am, can you explain to him what criminal trespass means?" And so there was this patience and consideration given to the situation versus this rush flusteredness that typically escalates a situation, right? And it was so considerate. This officer was so considerate to such point when, as he's walking this kid out after he handcuffs him, right? He's holding the kid's phone with the attorney still on it, and the footage shows the police officer holding the phone up to the kid to still talk to the attorney, and then when he puts him in the patrol vehicle, he lays the phone in his lap. And who gets that treatment without an attorney, right?
Right.
So
Right.
and so what I do know is that
Yeah.
that would have been a much more
Severe.
a severe situation, or a less what we call a collaborative situation if an attorney wasn't involved. That's what I believe.
That's true. That's real. I'll take that. I'll take that all day. All day. We are going to dive into the soup and the sauce of Attorney Shield right after. We got to pay some bills before our attorneys get. No, I'm just kidding. We got to pay some bills. We will be right back. We going to go to a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Baby Gear Services DMV specializes in high-quality baby gear rentals in the Maryland and DC metro area. We have a wide range of baby gear items for rent, including wooden cribs, car seats, high chairs, and more. We also offer seasonal specials and free delivery. Our prices are very versatile to cover every budget. Wooden cribs start at $17 a day, high chairs and even car seats start at $5 a day. Check out our website, www.bgsdmv.com.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENTSTYLE at manscaped.com.
We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast show, and we have the incredible Mr. David Walton. This man is spilling so many nuggets. We just dove in to the mindset and the heart and the reason and the story behind this app and this software that they've developed and created for us, Attorney Shield, protecting us and keeping us safe. And if you missed that, scroll back, go back, check it out. We are on iHeartRadio, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Ghana, radio.com, Audible, Facebook business page, LinkedIn, and even Audible. Wherever you get your podcast, Mr. Walton is there, spilling the tea today on Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Huge stuff. Huge. Phenomenal. Sir, I want to get into the sauce. I want to get into the nuggets and the mindset. How does Attorney Shield help during? You gave a great example, but specifically, can you give specifics on how does Attorney Shield help during police stops, detainments, and dealing with law enforcement? Am I supposed to whip it out as soon as I get pulled over? Do I wait until the officer starts talking to me? Can you help me there? Help us there.
That's a really good question. And what we tell our members is, as soon as you know that you're being stopped by police, or police are rolling up your driveway, or they are intent on contacting you or have contacted you, and you could even be a pedestrian on the street where a cop stops his car and rolls and walks up to you. If you know that's happening, get your phone out, open the app, and hit the button, right? Because time is of the essence, right? And our attorneys are staffed 24/7, 365, and so this isn't some referral service out to an existing law firm that's looking to get your business. And matter of fact, we can't take any business beyond helping you in that time utility moment, right? And so there's no other incentive for us other than your member fees are associated with us being able to staff attorneys so that they're available, and those attorneys work on Attorney Shield. They're not sort of working on cases because we don't have any cases, right?
Mm,
And so at the end of the day, hit the button and the attorney will come on. They'll assess your situation, right? It's important that you take a moment to allow that situation to be assessed, because we drop these attorneys almost like paratroopers into a DZ where they don't know what they're going to get, right? We don't know whether this is a cop coming after you for a speeding ticket or drug possession, right? And so, with that in mind, that triage is important, right? And so, be sure that you're very clear, but do it in a calm way, because we don't want to agitate or give the police officer a reason to want to invoke officer safety and put you in handcuffs, right? That's not what we want, right? And putting you in handcuffs doesn't necessarily mean you're arrested, but if they believe that they're not safe, or if they can justify that decision to put you in handcuffs, they'll do it all day long. So hit the button, get your attorney on as quickly as possible, because once that attorney is there, all of this, the negative stuff that happens when people are trying to self-advocate, become a much lower probability. Now, there are situations where, guess what, we can't save you, right? But
yeah.
we can make it better, right? Meaning that kid at Vanderbilt that got arrested, I believe he avoided a resisting arrest because he was upset. You can see it in his chest, right? His breathing, right? And the attorney was like, well, just be sure you don't make any sudden movements, be sure to cooperate. Look, we've already notified your emergency contact, the one that's on record on your account, and so somebody will know where you're at, and know where you're going. And that seemed to calm that gentleman down. And then we had another situation. This one actually happened last night, where a gentleman was being evicted. You brought up the tenancy thing, but
Mm,
he wasn't being evicted. He was being asked to leave. And so his mother lived at a particular residence, but the owner of the residence where the mother was renting had problems with her son, and her son was basically, the landlord got a restraining order, or no trespass notice put in place. And so when he came back, the landlord called the cop. And so what the attorney had to explain is, despite your right to come visit your mother, right, she can walk outside versus you going in, because that's not her property at the end of the day. And if you do step off the sidewalk into the yard, the police are already saying they don't want to arrest you. They were super professional, by the way. The police officers were just, and this is what we see, is these officers really sort of bring their best game, and that's what we want, right? And they were super nice and super professional and super patient, right? But this guy was not being reasonable, right? And so he ended up hanging up on the attorney because the attorney didn't give him an answer that allowed him to walk into the house. And you know what? We can't fix that, right?
right.
First off, all we can do is provide our members the information and the support that we can provide, having attorneys on deck, right? At the end of the day, what happens in that moment is up to you, right? And so if you ignore that information and you get arrested, that's on you. If you keep talking when we tell you to be quiet, right? In which that happens all the time. Some people just shut up, right? And it's like, you see it and you're like, be quiet, don't.
Yep.
And the attorney's constantly saying, "Ma'am, sir, just quit talking, calm down, whatever." And they keep talking. We can't fix that, right? And so I think something people have to do too is they have to be responsible for their own actions. So just like we're saying, be proactive and make sure that you're either aware of your rights or you have access to an attorney to help you out with those in those situations. Once that happens and you're in that situation, you also have to be responsible for your own behavior, because if you're acting erratic or whatever, and that you give the police a reason to put you in handcuffs because of officer safety, that's kind of on you. And so we can tell you all the best practices, 10 and 2 and all that stuff, no quick movements, whatever. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to de-escalate the situation on both sides and create an environment of collaboration, but one also where your rights are protected and you don't inadvertently become your own state's witness at the end of the day.
That's what came to mind for me. De-escalation, right? This is not a get out of jail free card, literally.
Mm-mm.
This is a de-escalation. We want to arm you with the knowledge and tools, even if it's against your best wishes, right? You may not want to, you may want to still enter the house, but they're here to protect you. You're not going to come, and for the protection of all of this, right? My guest on the show, this is not someone that's going to tell you to do something illegal. This is
That's
someone that's
right.
going to advise you on what the outcome could be, and what the best course of action is legally to keep everything calm and above board and above reproach. It's not a guarantee. Like, hey, you guys didn't get me out of that ticket. You said no. We never said. You notice what he said. He never said we're going to get you out of this infraction or this incident, especially if, because the part of legal counsel is you could be wrong,
Yeah,
right?
you could.
You
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
still be wrong. You're not imperfect. You're not impervious, right? They may come on and say, yeah, you need to get in that cop car, just like the young man at the college dorm.
Yeah,
Or in this
yeah,
case, last night, you need to stay out of that house because you have
yeah,
everything is above board. The landlord did what he was supposed to do. The law enforcement officer is doing what they're supposed to do. I need you to not enter that house.
yeah.
Simple. And
Simple.
if you don't listen, that's on you.
It's
But
on you, right?
they've done the work.
Yeah,
Powerful, powerful, powerful.
yeah.
You activated something that triggered me, and I want to dig a little bit deeper. What things are happening in because you said I hit the button, it starts working to call someone on that 24-hour line. But you also mentioned another key feature that it's notifying my emergency contacts. What other mechanisms are happening when I hit that button? And my GPS location being pinged, my emergency contact,
Ah,
because this is all about safety, right?
it
So
is all about safety,
what
right?
other things are happening in the background here?
Yeah, so there is an emergency contact, right? And so you can actually add two to the app, right? And you can, so when you add their first name, last name, and their email address and their mobile number, you can also then toggle to say, okay, how do you want to notify this person? Email or SMS text. We recommend SMS text because people are more likely to read
Fast.
their texts than they are their emails, right? And that text that comes in will basically notify, and we're careful about the message. We basically say in that message, Mark has requested legal support from Attorney Shield. you know uh, Please do not call him or try and text him right now. Give the attorney time to work through the situation. And it comes with a little link at the end, and that link is a geolocation link. As soon as you tap on it, it'll put you into Google Maps and show you exactly where that button was pushed, so you know where your loved one is. And to me, this is an excellent parental feature, to be honest. Our family plan. So we have individual plans, but we also have family plans that come sort of at a discount for bundling your family together, right? It comes with a minimum of three, but you can get up to five. That represents just over a third of the member accounts that we have active right now, right? And it's been a popular feature because parents are concerned about their kids, especially if they're new drivers or if they're going off to college. Like, this is college season now. We just sent our kids back to school. And so,
True.
the deal is if something pops off, do you want to know about it? If they get arrested, the app doesn't know that they got arrested, but once the attorney knows that the officer is going to arrest you, they pass that. Once you give the attorney permission to notify your loved ones of that arrest, the attorney will notify support, and support will directly reach out to that emergency contact via email, via text, and with a telephone call, right? Because we want to make sure somebody knows where you are, right? And there are some other bells and whistles we're doing, with the app, both now and in the future. But the whole idea is baked around creating transparency. And so that transparency is about the fact that you're not just FaceTiming with an attorney, we're recording the entire interaction, right? And that interaction is stored in our secure servers, right? And we host on AWS in case you're curious for the tech geeks out there, right? So we're pretty safe, right? Uh, but we everything's hosted in S3 buckets out on the AWS, and the access to those is extremely limited. And it's because there's some attorney-client privilege that may be in those conversations. And so we've had situations where, and I appreciate the officers who did this, but the attorney will say, "Officer, do you mind if I talk to my client privately?" And the officer will generally say, "Yes, we've found that this will happen."
Whew.
And so in these situations, it's like, okay, what's in the purse, right? Are there drugs in the purse, or what are they going to find in the trunk, or this type of stuff? Because the attorney needs to know what they should say and what they shouldn't say. Now, we don't have the attorney does not have an obligation to tell the officer there's drugs in the purse, but they do have an obligation to inform the client what the repercussions of that are. And they do have the ability to deny a search, but if the officers want to go get a search warrant, they can confiscate the purse, not search it, put it in a locker at the police department while they wait on the search warrant. These are all things that people don't know about that an attorney is going to help you through and all. But again, what we know is we want that situation recorded for the primary reason that, um, if if that officer in any way violates your constitutional rights in that interaction, that there's evidence of that happening. And that gives you the ability to request that footage from us in a composited manner. And what I mean by composite, it's we just do a picture in picture composite of you and the attorney talking, and you can turn that over to a civil rights attorney, let them determine whether you got a case, but that's your evidence, right? And so the deal is this is about sort of capturing the truth that occurred versus he said, she said. And what we know is that police reports are very often embellished or falsified altogether. And so you want your own version of the truth from your perspective, because police implemented body cams as a response to people having smartphones. A lot of times people think that police did the body cam because, oh, they wanted a no, they wanted their perspective, because what they found is when they went to court and they didn't have cam picture, and the citizen did, they generally lost their settlements, or they lost their judgments. So they wanted to provide their own perspective. The only problem with that is that you got to FOIA request those, and they'll block you, and a lot of the times there's very little recourse if they don't give you that footage. And the times they don't give it to you is whenever it's incriminating, right? And so you want your own source of truth that's accessible to you. And so that's, again, a major feature of the app.
So the app is recording the phone call, the interaction between me
Yeah.
and the legal professional, right?
Right. And so
But
we get both the perspectives. We see the attorney, and we get the attorney channel and the channel from your phone.
and it's also doing video as well.
Yeah, we're recording the video. Yeah, it's
Wow.
video audio recording. And so if you go out to like lackluster media on YouTube, he probably a lot of our members are very are fans of that channel, and when we send them their footage, they generally share it with lackluster to sort of evaluate and talk about, right? But there's videos out on lackluster that basically shows the footage of how Attorney Shield worked from the member's perspective. And so um, you know we just think that it, more cameras are better than, more the more cameras you have, the more eyes you have on the situation, the better, is what we think.
Absolutely. This is epic. This is epic. This is absolutely this is what we were looking for. Can Attorney Shield help me in a situation when dealing with animal fishing legal laws, real estate? Can it help me with CPS?
So that's a really good question. I'm so glad you asked that. We don't market this on the website because we don't want to appear to be anti CPS,
Right.
but if CPS shows up at your house, whether they're with or without cops, we view that as some type of enforcement action, and you should hit the button. All
Mm,
right. If you're fishing and the wildlife game guys, the game warden comes up, that's a law enforcement officer, hit the button. Right. What we can't help you out with is if you got a dispute with your neighbor, your landlord, your boss. I'm not saying we won't ever do these things, but if the police haven't been called and there's no police initiated contact, that is outside of the scope at this time, right? Because we view police initiated contact as an emergency legal service, right? Meaning the police aren't going to wait until Monday for you to have an appointment with your attorney in order to give you the ticket later, right? You need them
facts.
now, right? But if you've got a dispute with your tenant, or you've got a dispute with your landlord, or if you got a dispute with your boss, that may be something that you can schedule later, schedule an hour consultation that evening, right, to
Right.
talk about it, right, while the thoughts are contemporaneous in your head, because other legal services make you set up an appointment 2 weeks later, and by then you've already lost interest and forgotten half of what happened, right, and all. But it's not emergency, and so but we want it to happen real quick, and we want it to be affordable. So those are future things that we will likely do with Attorney Shield, and that will sit outside of the police initiated contact scope. But again, the CPS would be included.
Love it. Love it. This because law enforcement, just like you said, these are emergency interactions. This is not something that can be postponed for later. So just like you said, keep it simple, y'all. If law enforcement, some kind of law enforcement, whether it be the game warden, the boat warden out to sea, if you're out there fishing, if it's
That's
not
true.
law, those are all law enforcement
Those are
interactions.
all law enforcement.
If the
If somebody wants to,
FBI,
if they want to board your boat, right, that's law enforcement. Hit the button if you get a
yeah,
signal.
yeah, yeah. All this is signal dependent out there.
Right, right,
You have various plans on the website. Help
right.
us out. Help me out. I want you to talk about the top tier plan because you obviously everything is downhill from the top tier plan. So I just want you to focus on what are the perks and benefits with the top tier plan on your website. And we're showing this on the screen for our audio listeners. I'm sorry, you gotta watch the live. You gotta watch it live to get
Yeah.
this. But
So
what is your top tier plan? What can we expect? What are the benefits?
So if you notice, the plans are based on your member period. It's not really every one of those will get you the same. We want to treat everybody equal, right? So
Right.
every one of those will get you the service that all day long, the full service. But when you're looking at the left side of it, where the pricing is cheaper, that's just a month to month cost, and so it's for people who don't want to make a long term commitment. And then in the middle is a semi-annual cost, and there's some savings baked in there based on you making a longer term commitment. And then even the annual plan integrates a little bit more savings because you're basically committing for a slightly longer period of time. And so at the end of the day, the only difference between the plans on the right and left is your commitment, right? Your long-term commitment. Now, the top and the bottom, one is an individual plan, the other one is a family plan. And so individual is if it's just you, pay your $14 and go month to month and you're covered, right? But if it's you and your family, say you've got adult kids or even kids in middle school, for crying out loud, because one allowed, another allowed but not advertised, qualification to hit the button is if your administrators, let's say your principal or whoever, they want to search your book bag, they shouldn't be doing that to you.
Mm,
Or they want to grab your cell phone and read your text because they think somebody did something, right? They should not do that. Now, school administrators, public school administrators have very, very broad powers for search and seizure of students' devices uh, under the auspice of campus safety. And the Supreme Court ruled on that back in the 70s, and it's been the same ever since, right? And so these guys have broad powers, but it does not mean that they're immune from repercussions of an unlawful search or an unlawful seizure. Hit the button, and at least let's get the evidence. Let's have a record of what happened, right? And we'll deal with anything on the back end if you feel like your rights were violated. But again, those family plans down there bundle 3 accounts or more, up to 5, and it allows you to protect yourself and your family. And it doesn't have to be family. Family is who you make it. And so if you got 3 college roommates and you're not related, and whatever, just get, if you want to go in together, right? We don't care. We just want to get everybody protected.
It's not going to ask you, hey, I need you to submit proof that this
No
is your
proof.
cousin. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
It's not
we don't
doing.
care. We don't care whether it's your cousin or not.
Powerful
Yeah,
protection, powerful
yeah.
in the palm of your hands, y'all. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Brother, I want to talk about what you're doing. You are seeking investors.
Oh,
My
yeah.
favorite topic. I wanna ask, what's the goal with that? You're seeking investors. How can people invest, and why? What's the intent? Can I ask, what's the goal of the funds that you're going to use for this investment purposes?
That's a really good question, and the goal is always the right answer. Is what do you need that cash for, right? And
Yeah.
so we did an earlier seed raise where we raised 150,000, right? And the reason for that cash is we needed additional money to build out the technology. We built this platform from scratch, from the ground up, because there was nothing that we could buy on the shelf that would do what we're doing, right? It has a mobile app component, administrative back-end component, and an attorney module, right? And so there's nothing that existed like this, and so we had to build it. The purpose for this raise is so that we can get the word out. A major portion of the money that we're raising, and so we're looking at raising $1 million, right? And right now we're sitting at around 317,000 after 3 weeks, and so we've done really well. This is a 12-week raise, and after 3 weeks and a few days, we're already almost a third the way there, right? So we're doing really good, but we still need to get across the finish line. But the whole goal here is startups are starved for resources, meaning everybody that works for us right now works pretty much every day. We work. I'm like, I pick Sunday because Monday doesn't look any different than a Sunday for me, right?
True.
Nighttime doesn't look any different than a morning to me. We're just working like dogs, but happy dogs, okay? And so with that in mind, we know that's not sustainable. So we need to bring in additional people to help us through this journey to handle certain functions within the company. We would like to buy more marketing dollars in order to get the word out. We've acquired the 6,000 paid members that we have today based on just word of mouth, social media outreach, and our promotion partners. And it hasn't cost us a dime, but we've got to start spending some money on this stuff. And so, those are the primary reasons. Plus, it's just a lot of legal. We have our own legal cost, and our legal isn't free because we use a pretty expensive law firm, but it pays itself back because this is a highly complex business and highly regulated business, and we can't afford a slip up. We can't afford a mistake. So, if you have a few dollars, it's not very often that you get to invest in a company that's only been in existence for a year and a couple of months, right? Generally, by the time you get to invest in a company, it's already gone through several rounds of raising, and all the people who make a lot of money have already made their money, and then it IPOs, and you can buy it on the stock market or get it through your 401k. Frankly, by then, the upside's actually sort of wrung out of the business, if you will, and it just sort of sits there and stagnates for the rest of the time. And unless you're a day trader, you're not going to get anything out of it. This is a Regulation CF or crowdfunding raises the only mechanism a commercial or a retail investor, just a regular guy off the street, can invest $100 or more into a business that's a startup, right? And so you got to be careful with investing. I don't recommend anybody invest if you can't afford to lose the money, because that's how you have to approach investing in the first place. If you need that money next week, do not invest it. If you need that money next year, do not invest it. Keep it and pay your bills, buy your freaking food and eggs and whatever. But if you've got money that's sitting off on the side and you're wondering how to deploy it and make it work for you, investing is a good way to do that. And so I recommend you look at our page, but also run that by your financial advisors, just to make sure you understand what you're doing when you invest, because it's a very serious thing, and it does involve a significant level of risk.
Powerful, powerful, and thank you for that. I have to also protect my guests. Again, this is a legal disclaimer. This is not financial advice. But all right. So for those of you watching, this is not a financial advice. But I also will add my caveat, because I have invested in businesses, and I'm trying to diversify my portfolio. One thing you want to do when you invest in a company is you want to look at what stage that company is in. So is this company in the development stage where they have a concept, they have drafts and graphs and pie charts and everything, but they don't actually have a tangible product? And so that's the very beginning stage. And so I'm just going to ask publicly, Mr. Walton, is this software available today?
Yes. So we went live with the software April 3rd of 2024. And since then, we've acquired just over, and actually it's probably around 6,100 members, so 6,100 members, paid members, right? And we probably helped already about 400 people. So when I look at the dashboard here, it shows that we have just over 400 member support requests that we've done, and a lot of those have been serious situations. We do get some people calling in saying, "Oh, I hit the button by mistake. I just wanted to see if it worked." Right? That's okay. Yeah, that's okay for now. I get the curiosity, so we don't get bent out of shape about that, because those calls usually last like 10 seconds or whatever. But whatever the case, we have helped quite a few people already, and so we're live. And this is just really a means for us to get the word out about this. What I will say though is that we have three categories. If I can explain this,
Yeah.
Marcus, briefly. We have four primary categories of people that we really are promoting to, that are designed to sort of be a good fit for this. One is sort of the guy who feels patriotic and doesn't like the government, telling them what to do every day, and understands that the police sometimes are sort of the government's sort of local military in order to enforce those things. And so they're going to want to do everything they can to protect their rights and exert their rights and enjoy their rights. And so those guys generally, when they hear about this, they hop right in, right? Then there's the young males. And when we say young males, we mean young males below the age of 32. And generally, it's young males of color, right?
Yeah.
And those are the most at risk, but those are also the people who are least proactive. I'm just being honest, right? They're
Yeah.
least proactive. They think they're invincible. They think they don't need any help. I'm the man. I don't need no help, right? And they're the guys who police target the most, because, frankly, the statistics that the police use show that these guys are generally the criminals, if anybody's the criminal, right? Young people are engaged in more criminal activity than like 80-year-olds, right? At least the type of
That's
criminal activity that the police focus on. So my my advice to that group is, think about that. Think about that you're the group that resists uh, being proactive about something, but you're also the most at risk. And I'm going to stop there on that one. Then the next group is auto enthusiasts. They spend a lot of time on the road, and so it's sort of a no-brainer for those guys, except where those auto enthusiasts overlap with the young males, by the way.
yeah.
And then the last one is parents. Parents want to protect their kids. Frankly, what we hear from parents is, "I'm not worried about myself. I just want to know where my kids are if they get stopped. I just want to make sure my kids don't say the wrong thing. I just want to make sure that my kid who's off at college, if something happens, I at least have an idea of where it happened and what's happening, and I can do something." A parent not knowing, is one of the biggest challenges of being a parent. And knowing that something happened but not knowing the details, that's the second biggest challenge of a parent. It'll drive you crazy. And so, again, that's why that final group, parents, have actually, those family plans make up over a third of our memberships, because we believe that parents really want to protect their young adults, and they need protection, frankly, especially the young men.
Absolutely. You gave me so many nuggets with that. Should I hit the button in that instance? I'm on college campus. A college has its own rules and old campus laws. Should I still hit the button with an interact?
Absolutely. We've had them hit it on military installations, right? So,
Okay.
yeah. And so at the end of the day, if anybody campus have campus police. Even public schools have their own resource officers, which are police. So if there's a law enforcement, and even if you're in doubt, hit the button, right? You'll get an attorney and the attorney will assess the situation. And if there's not a law enforcement qualifier in there, they're going to tell you, no, if you got a ticket yesterday, the police aren't there anymore. I can't give you advice about how to handle a previous ticket, right? And we get those a lot. So don't think that we're going to be mad at you. We kind of expect sort of the curious to call and all, but the attorney is going to politely tell you that this doesn't qualify, and we want to keep that line open for people who really need it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
This has been epic, powerful interview. So many nuggets, so much wisdom. I love what I do, y'all. I love this. Mr. Walton, you've shared so many nuggets, so many tips. This episode, this is a blockbuster. One of my by far favorite interviews. Sir, you've given us insight, you've given us wisdom, you've passed on knowledge and legacy and information. If you had one more trick in the hat, if you had one more nugget to that young man watching this, or that family member or that loved one or that guy that is deciding on buying his small arm to protect his family, to keep in his house, what would you say to that man right now if he's just on the fence, he doesn't know if he should invest, buy, get the app? What would you say right now to them watching this?
That's a good question. I would say whatever decisions you choose to make today, whatever you do today or don't do today will affect the rest of your life. It's both big and small. And so sometimes we make light of the small decisions, but those small decisions stack up to be largely impactful in the future. And so this isn't about Attorney Shield. This is about if you're in school and you're thinking about dropping out. Well, if school is going to help you get to where you want to go, don't drop out, right? That's a choice. If you have a choice of, going to a party on Friday and buying a bunch of liquor, or you have the choice of paying your rent, pay your rent. I think in your heart, you know what's the right approach to make. Be proactive, be smart, think about your future, and let that drive the decisions you make. And whether that includes you getting involved with Attorney Shield or not from an investor or a member, that's up to you. But the decisions you make today and what you do and don't do today will affect the rest of your life.
I knew it. I knew he had one more in the chamber. Powerful. Y'all, I'm so sorry. We are out of time. We gotta let this incredible man, incredible speaker go. He has many more people to help. He's available right now, active. And so whether you're on the investor side, the member side, do it. Whatever it is, do it. No matter what it is. Sir, I want to say this to you publicly. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving back in this way. Thank you for supporting the show. We love it. And thank you all for tuning into the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I hope this was insightful, inspirational, motivational, encouraging, that we as a people, as a society, and even as a Black and brown people, we're heading in the right direction.
Amen.
So make the choice. Make the choice. Thank you all for tuning in. Like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and Mr. David Walton, super fragilistic expialidocious. Bye.